ESL presents ESL Challenger League in partnership with Intel, Acer Predator, DHL,
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to day 4 of ESL Challenger League. We're switching off from South America, walking into NA. My name is Get the Bag Mark. I'm kicking out Tony, and I'm here with Vincent tonight.
Oh, welcome back, my friend. Listen, it's actually our first ECL cast together in the Big 2-6, which it's a very special moment.
Yes, it is.
Glad to be back at the mic with you, just like we were in 2025. And you know what? Here's the thing. This is a crazy upper final that you and I get to call. I am very pumped up to get into it. We got F5 and Regain, two teams. Well, I mean, at minimum, one team that you almost certainly would have not expected to be in an upper final.
Yeah, 1000%. I mean, this has been a really interesting upper bracket where we've rolled it along, of course, where obviously you have M80 like reaching for the top spot in Cup 1. There's a lot of the top teams that are maybe like out really busy in other regions of the world playing in the VRS race, but like where you come to cut it up, where scheduling may be an issue, you had LAG actually like forfeit out of the upper bracket. What are we playing for here? To, obviously set the standard of where this VRS is, being put off to. Got to take a look at that check. Got to look at that 17.5K. We've already handed out 2,000 of to 5th and 6th place there. And we got 8K as our grand prize, Vincent. So that's obviously what we gave out to Chicken Coop and the boys. Hopefully that can keep Colin warm after some bad news came over the vine just yesterday.
Bro got cut like 2 weeks into that situation. It's insane. But yeah, that was Farmville and Zomblers that we've eliminated. They are 5th, 6th, so they claim those spots. As we can jump in to maybe talk about the storyline here, peeking towards the lower bracket, because it's been an interesting situation, to be honest. I think that in general, there's a lot of opportunity within this bracket, and that's going to be a general storyline for today. Opportunity that's been taken by somebody like F5, but also by Regain, in control, making their way into the lower bracket final as well. Moving forward up against Lag. I got to watch that Zomblers Lag game. Dude, Lag looking good, to be honest. I also got to call their loss to SBE in Cup 2, but I was really disappointed by that. But to tell you the truth, I think that Lag have landed on their feet in a way with Cryptic that I was a little bit unsure of. Even if I still have questions, I'm pretty happy with the way that they have handled themselves to get into this lower bracket final, considering they had to just run the gauntlet of the lower bracket because they forfeited that game.
Yeah, and you know what, like immediately checking into the lower bracket, it was where Apples and I got to check into ECL. It was the first day that we had it on the broadcast with LAG and Boss, right? It was really funny to like get the two top ranked teams there at the bottom check of the lower bracket, and we sent Benleet and Co home. The next morning that Stan news came through, so a little bit sad for those boys on the Boss side, but I mean, it was either of those teams to make it or break it here. They flew through Surge. That looked to be a little bit more of an okay game versus Zomblers, but I can talk plenty in Co about the concerns I got for Cajun in that group. But where we've soared through, it's in control that obviously collect that forfeit win in the upper bracket. They go against LAG tonight, but the last time that they played in a best of 3, it was actually in control that took it back in the middle of March. So I'm really interested to see how that one will go off. I've been a really big fan as to what quality Scorchy has been putting up recently. Got to watch them versus F5, the reason why they're actually here in the lower bracket. Obviously, where we're looking at that, Vincent. F5 and Regain here, I think this is as good as it can get into the top side of a bracket for, I mean, some of these rosters that are sending it in, very familiar with Regain, but F5, a newer face to the ECL circuit.
Yeah, and listen, their story coming into here is a pretty impressive one. They beat Farmville in the opening round, and as you can see, Farmville made it deep in the lower bracket, just now losing out to In Control. And so I think that's a team that could have given F5 a little bit of trouble. It was a 2-0 there. Then it's a massive upset, Outfit 49 losing to F5, and of course we mentioned the In Control game. All of those 2-0s. So as we continue to discuss this F5 team, let's talk about their roster and, who these guys are, because, to a viewer who's just checking into ECL, they might really not know these faces, but you and I do. Bones, Cameron, Kermie, Nate, and Signal. Signal, a little bit of a newer piece to this roster, but this core of Bones, Cameron, Kermie, and Nate, they've been around. I mean, I actually casted at least Nate and Kermie. I don't know if Cameron was on this version of the team or Bones. I think Bones might have been, but like 2 years ago at Frag Miami 1.
Yep.
Like, dude, I'm serious when I say that this has been a core of sorts for so long. It is very cool to see these guys make the move from, I think at that point they were a bottom advanced team, into ECL. I mean, genuinely, this is the reason that I'm a caster, is these types of storylines, getting to see guys like F5 make these types of runs. I'm pumped that they're here.
1,000%. And this is an F5 team that, for following them up the ladder, seeing them get that organizational support, but also seeing their struggle, I was a little bit concerned for them, like coming into the beginning, or rather the end of March into Frag. But they played pretty well. There were a couple of bumpy games, but I mean, they really came to pick their best map of Overpass. That was into Voca, and they pushed Snav and the boys into a double overtime. I mean, it was a really great performance. Since then, they've come back and done really well online. They're going to need to shoot their best tonight if they're going to want to take down Regain, which is full of a sharp set of those shooters like I'm referring to. It's been a couple players in and out of this 5th spot of the roster, but I think they've finally got it locked up. I'm mentioning Boss there, and actually where I've had my, I remember serving up that game. It was Merkiu and Cameron. I set up for the head-to-head because Merkiu, when he was playing for this Regain roster, was really consistent online. Of course, he stepped back, I believe, due to what he said was like work commitments, but then got picked up by Boss. They've done well. They've replaced him with Grape, who obviously has been established here in North America for a really long time. This is a team that's really busy, Vincent. You talked about how they have been acing it inside of ECL, doing well in Dust 2 Eagle Masters out there. It's pretty interesting. They're also headed on to the semifinals of Crossfire Season 4, and I believe have already qualified to the playoffs of Eagle Masters. Where I want to turn your attention for this head-to-head, Vincent, are these oppers. When I was going into Frag York, I knew nothing about Bones. His rating told me he was a disappointing player, but finally when I got to see him in the server, he started to change that narrative. This guy is on a really good last couple of, it's about 3 weeks that he's been stretching up his rating, and he has been lights out. He's posted, I believe it is a 1.26 in the 9 maps that he has played, the 6 maps he has played. It's been a 1.32 in ECL. So that rivals Dirk's top ECL spot, where you have everybody basically competing with Consti, and then they're going to get second place, essentially. They have Dirk at basically the best overall rating at 1.29. Like, this is going to be a killer battle, and if I know F5, they're about to like pick into an Overpass, I think we're going to get the best of this duel. Two of these players that they have wanted to like reestablish, and I mean, Dirk hasn't always been an opper. I mean, he's come into this position from being a rifler and like being just what Regain have needed him to do.
Okay, to be fair, he's been an opper for like more than 2 years now. It's been a long time since he's not been an opper. But I do want to clarify that, like, dude, I think Dirk's step up as well, also something that has been very important. Dirk's a guy that honestly I was kind of out on, and I don't mean that to be disrespectful, but like there was a long time where he was, I will say, average to below average, and it wasn't really quite good enough. So as we kind of jump into the conversation about where this is happening, I'm very excited to see that head-to-head, because Bones is a guy that I have seen flashes of for a really long time, but for the fact that he's putting up like a 1.3 rating over the course of this event is insane. Like those are numbers that don't really make sense to me all that much logically. So I'm excited to see that. I'm very interested to kind of like touch on that as we can get into this. But where is this happening? Where is our veto? You were talking about Overpass. I think very much likely going to be seeing that. Regain, though, it's hard this matchup for F5 because Regain are the Inferno team, man. They're so good on Inferno, and it's a map that F5 are willing to go to. So it is going to be Regain who pick Inferno. Ancient is our decider, and I'm pumped up for this. But Overpass, it does need to be a pretty good start, I think, for F5.
Yeah, F5 do remove that Anubis. That's not one do they check into that often. They have a pretty good Mirage, so that's why Regain did not leave that out there. Ancient if we do need to go to it, but that's also a stronger mark by F5. They did bounce back, go through and kind of crush that sentiment of worrying about a team so sturdy on an Inferno yesterday when they blew out In Control, 2 days ago in the upper bracket. Been some time since then. Hoping they can do the same here. Comfortable veto for F5.
Yeah. It's good news for them, no doubt. It's pissed around getting deeper under the minute mark, and it's still very much the B site. It's about to be under threat by F5. I think I'm a little bit concerned that Regain, they have a ton of info, but they actually haven't made the move. They are still only 2 at B. The flash has just been used to gather information. 35 seconds, here we go.
Couple of taps up by Sasha, and a touch through. At least gonna get this. Cameron not quite on his platform to hit those shots. Kermi next inside of the single file line will find that entry. Access to a post plant here by F5, but as soon as that smoke fades, we're gonna get started here. In Bones is just gonna surgically remove Fuzinko.
Oh, gotta be perfect from here on out.
I mean, that tap up by Signal, there's just no way. Zukar, gotta get this clutch, Mr. In-game leader. Excuse me, that's Sasha. I'm already tricking him out. It's the in-game leader from Pit. I can tell you that with perfection to put an end to this thing. F5 hit resume on their Overpass antics. They were just in a different class when playing against In Control the other night. Me and Apples were kind of astonished.
You know, I think Zukar is an interesting conversation point in general because he's a guy that I really feel like has, I'm not going to say wasted his career because he still has, you know, plenty of potential there, but he's been so committed to this Regain roster essentially when he has been such a star for them for so long. I would have loved to see him like get a next step opportunity, and from what I understand, like those opportunities existed. He just wasn't all that interested. So, you know, it's been years of consistently good performances from Zukar. He's always a pleasure to watch, but you know, this Regain team, it's sort of do it here or don't do it.
It's like an IVZ.
Gonna see him do it here.
This is his Shinden. Bro's just not an option.
Great comparison.
Definitely not out of the leftist of Fields or anything. Jeremy completes there in the grape. That was the concern in the pistol. It was just those upgrades. You know, Walson with the MAC-10. Got to shout out one of my favorite South American oppers, because I know we had Detroit J flicking around here not too long ago. Fake Dubaru took a nice win on the broadcast.
You and I, big fans of Fake Dubaru over there in the South American region.
Yes, minus cold 0 plus win. Sorry.
Wow!
Sorry.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah,
Tell us how you really feel.
I love you, Marcelo David. I do. I really do. Wow, look at how fast the switch up is. Well, CK's out equals farm. Oh my gosh.
It's true, and I've been saying that for a long time.
Oh, yes, you have.
Me being right again in South America. Who could have thunk? Definitely been wrong many times. But we have an important gun round to touch on. F5, obviously a huge deal to win the T-side pistol, follow that up with a victory, but here's the guns out for Regain. Very aggressive setup for them on the A-bomb site. 2 in long bath. And Dirk normally would be working in AWP, but it's just a rifle that he currently wields over in bathroom, meaning that Regain are a little bit limited on this B site, and that's where the attack's going.
Rape immediately gonna get dinked up, and Nate, next level, will have the space necessary. How are they not fighting Vizinko? No way. This guy gets a triple here. And into the madness. Nate that's gonna be close to signal. Bro's just dodging everything. Dirk is gonna loudly rotate here. Had some nades sent through heaven. You know there's about to be a big sentiment here through CT. Zukar walks into short, all this control. And it's going to be a moment before contact is made. Bones in this setup with signal. It's going to be so tricky to pull apart. It's just the 1-2 punch of this pull, and it's so hard to work this second shot off the angle. Cameron and a 1 versus 2, and he won't even begin to gut them. Hopping on that defuse, should have just enough time on the 10 seconds.
Yeah, I don't know that they do. This is tight. Oh, man. Yeah, literally milliseconds left. I love how confidently you said that. Were you sure?
I knew.
Were you that sure?
I knew.
Dude,
yes.
Props to you.
Thank you.
Props to Regain for that retake. They do a great job of facilitating, get themselves back into that. And shout out Vizinko as well, because I think he does some miraculous work right there on the site. That site, the entry pathing was so good for F5. The utility was on point, and as I highlighted, Regain, they didn't have the best of defenses set up as well. So when the initial man falls, I think that's probably lost. Thanks to Fuzinko's double spray down, the MP9, they get that 3v3 and thus win the round. Moving on for Regain into another round, though, and one where F5 have been able to repurchase everything that they could want, including a Bones op. Dirk has one, though it's towards A site for now, and as you and I can see, Regain consistently, or rather F5 consistently targeting B. That smoke is a pretty good indicator that they're just going to be going out B ASAP.
One check to it. Vizinko spams 2 inside of the barrel once again. Barely enough bullets here in the clip to stand for a third, but he's got to swing at some point. Sprinting into the smoke. Best option at that point was just to disappear. Dirk long range has got to equip this op back. Going and standing at the 5-7 and going and getting these taps. Dirk over the top will finally get this headshot. Delayed our F5. And it's these type of rounds that will just ruin your economy really quickly. Got to be able to find the win off this. Really depending on Cameron. With Bones sticking along. The 2 highest rated players here for F5 coming further into the upper bracket, into their 7th map. Bones slaps down Zukar. Dirk over the top. Can't quite land the adjustment, but as they stare down the barrel, it's Sasha that will just sear Bones, and Cameron in 2.
Beautiful work for Regain. Back-to-back retakes of the B bomb site, and this one is not anywhere near as close as the last. It's comfortable on the defuse. Lovely positioning from Sasha. Him staying alive in pit is so important. I actually think that's the reason that Dirk is swinging there with the 5-7 out. It looks really silly in the moment, but I think he's swinging so that Sasha can get the reload off and so that they can stay alive. That's part of the reason that the short players were able to attack Fuzinko so easily down there in Monster. It's because Sasha was trying to get a reload off, couldn't do that safely, and was in trouble. So Dirk allows that. His positioning, Sasha's that is, confirms the round, and it's that puts F5 onto an eco.
Rainbow in 4, sure would love this, but now he's sprinting back fully blind. A couple of HEs will pop up. Sasha on the run is just gonna spam him down. This is a slaughter. A couple more kills come through, denied by Regain. Starting to understand why the last time Regain clicked into F5's Overpass, it was a 13-5. Reactions like that are pretty fierce, but they're just fitting the first 5 rounds here. I feel like F5 still yet to even show them how this thing is supposed to be run.
And that got smacked down so easily, despite the fact that Grape sent his entire magazine through that smoke and was having to reload and fall back and run away all at the same time. So, pretty impressive when you consider those facts. F5 been a little bit too married to that B site thus far, and I think that needs to change. Look at the aggression for Regain. Pushed right up into position here at A, encroaching upon Fountain, and Sasha's even got a forward position as well in connector. I think this might shepherd F5 back into B again. Wait, the B site's open. What are we doing?
Yeah, I'm starting to ring alarm bells like that in my head as well. I mean, you see Regain go for a gunning play like that up towards A. They're not going to be a pushover in terms of those protocols, but you have to understand that F5 are still going to operate around this. Signal calls a simple play to rotate and just take the B site. He's left for dead off this. Was the only player that saw that aggression. So this was an easy equation. Swinging out, and what is that by Fuzenko? The 17-year-old talent, show us some more of that. The trade over the top, gotta land it, and Cameron and Nate stand for two. Cameron, yet to be dug out, the mouse jump. Terrible. Bones in a 1 versus 3, making miniature mistakes. Smoke on the bomb. Bones knows exactly where this has got to be expected to fight from. Can't quite land the transfer, and Regain are consistently retaking into the B site.
Yeah, Regain, more like retake. That's all they've been doing, man. That's all they've been required to do. Let the bomb go down, who cares? F5 still economically on a pretty poor footing. Impressive from Fuzenko. And he's been another guy where when I initially saw him get added to this roster, you know, this is a story of just redemption, to be honest. The whole server right now. But, you know, we talked about that with regard to Dirk, but Fuzenko, I don't think has ever been really poor at any point. But I struggled to see the reason that he was such a touted prospect on this roster for a while. And I feel like we're really getting to get vision of that over the last, I mean, honestly, 2026, but, you know, towards the end of 2025 as well. It's impressed me. And finally getting to see what everybody else was is a huge thing for me. It's got a nice angle, but it's only going to be a leg shot.
I'm just seeing that barrel peek around the corner. I think that nade is going to go far enough as to taking down Kermi. Just a few feet away. Eyes on, Dirk back to it. Kermi has one more on that deagle. Anything else? Bones, one EWP given to him. And what a delivery at default. Kermi, destruction. A second there, adjusting on the Desert Eagle. As the rest of Regain arrive back. It's a perfect HE. That's been something that's been such a good standard here for Regain. Bones trying to reach back behind Dice, but has his number called.
It does get a little bit dicey there for Regain. I think they lose more than they would have liked, but ultimately it's still a victory. F5 take their first of 3 tac pauses available.
We'll pull Mr. Adam Current Star onto the mic. Love that. Just kind of giving him the coach glaze the other night. This is his first big ECL opportunity. He's taking it and really doing a good job seeing F5 through the upper bracket. But fun fact for Regain, he's just not here tonight. I'm sorry to cut you off, but you know I'm chopping at the bit. To deliver that, ink has been added to Regain, but I think this is more of a recent thing, obviously coming off of that Shimmer Sakura lineup. So illustrious. Our Season 7 ESL Impact finalist coach. Oh, Vincent, don't you remember seeing him like aura farming?
That's true, he was.
Yes, he was.
I will back you up on that one.
Saw him at Frag York.
He was there.
Didn't get to catch up with him, though. He's a busy man. He was casting with Floofies on the second stream.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
That's a talent as well.
Talented individual, multiple facets.
Not here, though. Like I said, not registered. Hopefully watching. That'd be the good coach thing to do.
True. Pretty important round for F5. They took attack pause up ahead of this in order to try and facilitate that. Been a lot of, I'll say, somewhat gambly setups here for Regain. I think that F5 probably need to take a little bit more time to feel out what's going on across this map. Dirk responsible for bathroom, but F5 are pathing long, though they might go through long bath, and that seems to be the right answer. I don't know if Dirk will be prepared. He's currently, I think, looking... Oh, no, he is on the closer angle. In fact, he'll give up his space. Now Zukar is entirely alone.
Get a fish out Zukar. It's their eyes inside a connector. Line for these next couple of moments. I mean, out of the shadows, less than 30. That's F5 coming in blind, and Dirk is gonna love that. Second just doesn't pull the trigger. They're gonna get so close. Dirk finds that to be a little bit less manageable than he thought. So desperate were F5 phasing into this site, but they had to be furious. Got into it, secured a post plant, and I don't even know if Regain should really attempt this at the moment. They got the money to, but this doesn't look that great.
That money point is the only reason that I think they're still sticking around in any way or fashion. They do also have time on their side, but yeah, this is tough.
Shot Grape. Gotta get here. Hit that he has on his back of Bones. Stacking bodies, dropping them, and Grape is the top of the pile. A third here for F5. Great work. This is a grueling T side. They're putting blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, but I think they need one more to really break that security glass.
Yeah, I think so, but they have plenty of time to handle that right now. Oh, yeah. This is only round 8. Beautiful shots out of Bones. Confirmation, and as I was highlighting, Regain only going in for that because they have the economy to fall back on, but that's not a forever situation. In fact, basically all of their money put into this repurchase. F5, I think, doing a wonderful job of feeling out the map a little bit more, taking their time with that round. It's a slower, more methodical approach out towards A, pushing Regain back bit by bit. The head, and it's Bones to deliver. It's a big moment we've been talking about. Bones versus Dirk, who would come out on top. Well, Bones does this time.
Nate holding along for a really important power play by Regain. Mid-round destroyed. Recycle that thought. Regain are going to workshop that thing. Doubled up so easy for Nate. His 9th frag of the first half. Gonna find a little bit of form by reaching back out into water, but at this point it's securing their exit.
Yeah, Regain not so happy about how this thing is gone. Everything goes wrong. Their aggression across the map. Push long for Dirk's op. Re-aggression for Zukar and Sasha. Nate catches them both. Cameron likely to go down. That's potentially a further upgrade, though. Fazinko's already grabbed an M4. But the money's starting to be broken, and I'm going to be honest. F5, you know, they're already doing a lot of work on this T side. When we've gotten to watch a lot of Overpass today, you and I.
Yes, we have. And, this is Overpass number 3?
Yeah, I think so.
There you go.
And so, you know, F5, they have been, I won't say farming this Overpass, but it's been a couple of overtime wins included. They played it every single best of 3 in this event. Farmville and Outfit 49 in overtime, and then they dominated in control. It was not even close. And it's been a map they've been working on for a while now. So, I'm going to keep it a buck. I really do rate F5 on this Overpass, even if we saw Regain blow them out of the water last time in the previous cup.
A lot has happened since then. Like I said, a trip out to Syracuse. I think a lot happened in just a few days. You know, the wins leading up to that, coming straight out, have been really solid. You know, I think a 3-week span like that can really make or break the development of a project where I think uniquely there's a lot of teams coming in and out of those scenarios, like at a different point in their development of the squad. Yet I think that was a perfect, you know, really, you know, kill or be killed moment for F5. And really the way I was leading that narrative, when I was going into Frag York, I was, you know, rating them as a non-factor. And when I saw them playing close against FRZ unit, you know, they're a main team. Of course, they made, you know, ESEA finals. They got, you know, shooters like Sharpie. But I think that was, you know, a time where I was really scratching my head. Nope, they're still playing in main right now, but obviously an advanced quality team. They won main and went to finals. Yes, this is true. They should be playing in advanced. I'm not sure when they drop down.
They can win main and they aren't in advanced?
Oh, no, I think they may have made it. But
yeah, okay.
Like I'm saying, they won the main division. They went, or at least placed like top 2 to make the ESEA finals. That obviously LAG won.
Classic. That's a cool boost. I know we just got to see it for a second, and we're yapping, but I love that boost. Yeah, this one. Appreciate it. Thank you, OBS team.
Production.
Love the little gimmick. It's one that's really necessary when you have only a couple of rifles available. Fuzinko and Grape saved guns. Unfortunately, going to be...
Finally caught it.
There you go.
Now you're just going to get off that boost. The thing is that I think a lot of people forget that it takes 3 players to fully see that through. You got to boost 2 up top. Get another head. We got to see that rifle.
Fuzinko's in a good spot.
Yeah, he's going to let multiple players get here deeper within the site. And as long as Regain can buy valuable time that they can set him up to succeed. Fuzinko couldn't wait any longer. He knows that the team is in danger now, and Zukar does his job. Grape the double spray down, and what a transfer at the end. Make or break moment in this first half, and Regain take control of every aspect.
It's so make or break because it's important for Regain to maintain control of the CT side. You know, they're in trouble if this is a really close T side where F5 are getting 5, 6, 7 rounds on this half. Instead, they have just picked back up an important part of the map. Now can inch further forward, but don't let yourself be pulled away by that. F5 still very much a threat. Bones, AWP, EKs across the board for the rest. Money becomes a little bit of a tighter conversation, but that's a problem for next round. Solution is just keep winning, and that's what F5 are hoping to do. Get back to this slower, more methodical setup that's really been valuable for them. Couple of rounds in a row that they were able to pull off just a moment ago. Nectar, no one home. 5, keeping their cards close to the vest. Rather, Regain, excuse me. Dirk. Zukar here a day. There's been no pressure applied on B.
No test about it. I mean, you're seeing Sasha just going in and out. There's no confirmation as to, you know, short being completely empty. But they'll take their bets. 35 seconds. And something that has been consistent about these F5 T sides is that they've been taking a whole lot to set up these very moments of fresh smoke in front of 3 players that long. This is going to make this hit impossible. Now under 19, they're trying to feel out what doesn't look right, and they don't get phased. It's Kirby that finds 2 faces. Dirk right over the shoulder, has to hit twice, and it's Cameron that is going to punish F5 so precise in a perfect moment. Show out for a 5th.
Yeah, we were talking about how much of a tide turner that regained victory where it's just Grape and Zukar keeping their guns alive. Or rather, Grape and Fuzinko. Doesn't matter when immediately F5 punch back. It's 2 entries out of Kermi and a really uncomfortable regain. I'm not in it and not hugely in favor of the way that they position themselves. It seemed like they were anticipating an A hit, but it's so aggressive when you've got a player front bath like playing sort of on the avenue towards sand between AC and front bath, and then, you know, another player who is also your opper in front of map. There's just no way to fall back. There's no, you have to be perfect. And obviously, Kermi, he was the one who was perfect. That's just not a reasonable setup that you can continue to win on. So it is going to be looking like it's that close half, that close T side that we were highlighting. Big news for F5. We could be seeing a tied scoreline.
Go to go and investigate. I didn't send anybody nearly this far. Around 11. Holding a very quiet line. I mean, especially with the jump spots, just may not be expecting it. But Cameron is not going to be clued in on any sort of just one play. He's going to get a double off of that. Just insane work. Regain methodically chose up that moment to strike. And they likely would have been right. Cameron now eyes on the third player in the site, and Sasha's got a dart back.
And he's just deployed all the rest of his utility. These are some other map control as well for F5. Their options are open, courtesy of Nate, but Zukar looking to re-clear. Bathroom overwhelmed. And it's just Sasha here. Is that a jump spot? I wonder if they saw him. It's going to be about this fast flank for Zukar. Sasha been forced out of the site.
Spam. Zukar clean onto Nate. Almost lined them both up again. Bomb finally planted. I feel like I was waiting on that forever. Just with the bones, back to back with Signal. Partner in crime, Cameron, been clipped. So it's got to be the man we put in the spectacle. Bones up to go. Just see him pass by again. Missed shot, and I'm not sure he's going to have that one back. So he leaves it to the 7.62 up on the flank, and he has to get it. Working so hard for that second shot. Signal fumbles here at the end. Bones out of the right side of this smoke is spamming at nothing. Sasha is going to gun him down. 7-5, end of your first half. Regain are going to shut them out, Vincent.
Impressive, to be honest with you. And I think that in general for Regain, the fact that they, you know, suffered through some of those worse scenarios, pulling back this 7th round, impressive. But I'm very happy to see F5 pick up 5 rounds on their T side. Mark, that is a very good Overpass T side. A statement made with the way that they are pulling this. And remember, it was 13-3 last time they played Overpass. And now they're well beyond that. We'll see if it's going to continue as F5 get their chance at CT side after the break.
So in my opinion, Regain, they've already stood up to the statistics, Vincent, if I can spit that one out. But they spat out a really good first half, 7-5, rolling up to it. But with the 36% T-side win rate, Vincent, onto this second half, this may be where F5, Kermi, and Co. can just clean them up.
Yeah, I think that's the general storyline that you probably could take away from a 5-7 scoreline like this. I do want to give credit where it's due. Regain's T-side solid. Now, granted, it was really just this F5 game previously, and then a victory against Team Mouse, which isn't a real, competitive matchup, but still, I think Kermi gets too impressive.
Coming up big time. Cameron with that double kill. Fazinko around the corner. He's going to show up with a big play. It's just going to get shattered. Cameron says, I'm coming through here in this second half. Been a bit quiet so far. One of the biggest ballers of our upper bracket. I mean, this guy has been lights out to this point. He's going to get this A4 access first chance he gets.
I'm pretty impressed with the level of consistency from F5. Like, everybody's getting a piece, right? We saw some big moments from Bones on the op. Obviously, that's a triple kill from Cameron, but he also had a really important double in one of the earlier rounds. We talked about Kermi. Twice over, he had some impressive double entries. Nate had a double entry. Everybody's getting a piece right now for F5, and that's something that is, I think, a big deal for their overall chances in this best of three. Overpass is one thing, but we've highlighted that the rest of this best of three can feel a little bit Regain sided. But if everybody's playing on the same page and at the same level, that's a pretty important factor for the longevity.
Yeah, I really agree. He had Bones one kill off an ace there. Loving to see him farm up a couple with the ecos. We know it's the stack of bread that he really wants. His campaign runs on dollars, and this guy is going to be reaching for an op in the next round. But whenever I got to watch this team versus In Control, that was a big factor. Everybody doing their part. They had no player below a 1-0 rating. It was just Kermi on that one who, speaking of the devil, and he's going to give Fuzenko the horns. Opening kill, 5 through a very quick opening to this round. Have these frags in less than 30 seconds.
Quite the impressive statement for a gun round from F5. The early connector duels not working out so well for Regain. I don't really know that there's a next step in this process other than them to stay grouped and walk up somewhere. Seems like A is that intention. Oh, that footstep certainly has been heard by Bones. Kermi just jump spotting. 45 and ticking.
He's gotten quite active in connector, and now eyes on. I mean, Zukar has got to be known. Kermi will actually just drop right back, setting up the bait for Bones, who will take a little bit more time to get banging on that SMG again. 27 seconds. Zukar is concerned about something like that. Bones just straight up into his crosshair. A nice name for Regain to cross off the page right here, but it's going to have to be great. Pick it all up. He's going to be put down. Kermi going acrobatic for that spray transfer, but Kermi needs to do more than this. Cameron coming in, concerning on 11 HP, and Zukar could stab this back. Kermi is doing this so well on the site, never peeking, waiting for Cameron to crawl up. A full house of frags shared between F5 as they find a lead for the first time in the second half.
What a beautiful round from Kermi. I am genuinely so impressed. And a while ago, Kermi was a guy that I feel like, maybe I'm mistaken, but I seem to recall him talking about maybe wanting to like step away from competition for a little bit. He obviously, well, I say obviously, maybe maybe you don't, was an in-game leader of this team for a really long time. And I think got to a point where he was just feeling frustrated with that role, moved away from it now, and just to see him fragging like this, back to, times where I had seen him in the past. Kermi was a guy that I got to watch at like my first LAN event ever. It was it's cool to see as he comes flying in for a triple kill, recovers that round. Regain, we're doing a great job of making it possible.
Trust me, I would like to add to the Kermie glaze. I feel like I have a similar experience. This guy's an OG. And I'm pretty sure I did meet him at my first LAN as well, back in 2021. Bones can pivot back and potentially just sling out another one to Zukar. Not here. Not now, Kermie. You going into the smoke. All right, that might have been a duel over Zealous. Peek by Kermie. But 3v3. And I feel like Regain have just done enough paperwork negotiating into the front of the A site. They're not satisfied with the deal on the table.
This hesitation, it's causing a rotation. So regardless of whether this goes back down B or not, Signal has reacted. There's more where that came from. Cameron actually going to join Signal in heaven.
Oh, it's a big
gamble. Oh my goodness. The gamble is going. And guess what? Regain, they're calling the bluff. They move down B as well. 30 seconds to play with.
Not sure if I'm a fan of the boost, but Cameron should be able to see everything. Recall and get cold feet. They will stay standing. Signal will at least just tend to the thought. But Dirk, he may just clear this directly on the boost. He was sitting Sorrow, trying to get somebody at the top of pit. They had that cleared. Cameron put up a couple of shots. Nate will go maybe a little prematurely. Cameron without his protection now. 23-6. The HP listed on the board for Regain. Cameron has got to go for this clutch. Walks up, necessary, maybe feeling the nerves a bit. That's a shot he should have hit. Would have every time. Grape and Zukar get to engineer this now. Not loving that Zukar switches to the sniper, but into his barrel. Will not miss out of the scope. Regain tied at 1-1 and have Zukar required for a 4K.
What a recovery from Zukar. That's why this guy has just been the one to talk about on Regain for so long. He can get you out of the most frustrating scenarios, and that's a situation for F5 where you were talking about maybe a little bit of nerves. I don't really know if it's anything like that, but what I do know is it's uncharacteristic mistakes we haven't really been seeing. The spacing there between the first guy coming out of lower and the second is really rough, and of course the Signal who's up in heaven, he isn't really able to be connected to that, so he gets overzealous, swings early. Zukar's happy to get those diced up duels and deliver the multi-kill that gets Regain out of that situation. Regain, who have put themselves in a nice spot now, equalizing the scoreline, 1 round away from resetting F5's economy. This game is still on. Even though we talked about the T side as struggles that they have been, Regain proving that they can deliver.
Is this fountain aggression that we saw Regain go for in the same fashion? Flashing, they may have their protocols a bit more clean over on the Regain side to expect just this. Oh, the bomb barely gets taken down. They have to adjust versus Fuzinko. Nate here has got to be a dead man. I mean, he's got out the USP. Bullets placed upon the pile. Kermie had to respond aggressively. I say that, I'm not sure if he had to. Wasn't a direct requirement, but Cameron now next up in connector. We'll have to wait out the Molotov.
Yeah, F5 get caught in this frustrating facade where they feel like they have to keep pushing because their teammate is out in the open end alone. So if they don't keep aggressing, then they're just leaving their teammate to die for free. And unfortunately, the situation doesn't work out so well for F5. So Nate's double kill to start this round is bettered by Regain. Now, 3 remaining Regain members approach the A site. They're going to get the bomb down. Look how disconnected F5 are. One comes up connector, another goes flying up long. So Signal and Cameron, they are really far from this whole thing. And oh my gosh, this positioning from Dirk, he's about to hear this. He's heard him, called it, dead. Perfect from Dirk. And this round's over. Cameron's got to run for the hills. Regain. 3v5 recovery that they just pulled off.
A big turning point within the second half. Regain on that type of time. The recovering mistakes mid-round. This is going to be a round really worth its weight. Dish in that 9th, just immediately submitted. The Seaside will be succeeding, and sure, the details fall maybe below where we're accessed, because Regain do a little bit more than just recover the 3v5. They also shatter F5 economically at this moment. A real terrible time for that to happen.
Yeah, and that was the way we set that round up. That's what we were talking about. The potential to shut F5's economy down. You know, I love saying it because it's so funny, but there's never a good time to be broke. But this one hurts especially bad. You're never liking it when the pocketbook is empty, but you hate to see it now.
Mm-hmm. Never a good time to be broke. Wise words. Said one.
You know, that's what they keep me here for my sage advice. And that's tragic as well for Cameron, because he's the one wielding the real gun. USPs will be left. No easy way to recover that. I say that. Nate's actually about to walk into that smoke and get the... Never mind, Fuzinko's still watching.
That's business from Fuzinko. Zukar tapping on a signal. Permian Bones, they're just left up there on the A site. Your sage advice, Vincent, I would definitely agree. That's why we have you here.
Can I just do a little nerd moment? Because I talked to Tony about this. You do not have to
ask me for permission, Mr. Colorcaster.
Right.
Do your thing.
Thank you. It's actually a nerd broadcast moment, because I love that this HUD has the, like, number of the armor when it gets low, like under 20.
Shout out production.
That's such a cool little thing that I don't really think any other HUD that I'm aware of does.
Ooh. Bones is going to see his back turned. All right. Dirk was about to walk in. I feel like could have used the blade there. Road hop down the ladder, made that a non-issue. You know, we were watching.
Could have used the blade.
We were watching JW and Eyeballers in our second best of 3 this morning on CCT. It's still with me.
It's true. Would have been an ambitious time for the knife, I will admit.
This is NACS, dude. Come on. I haven't seen nearly enough trolling in this game.
I was just about to say, I think that we have actually been watching a fairly reasonably put together Counter-Strike game here in North America.
There we go, guys. Look at us.
I know. And you see, if this was anyone else, I would be mad that they were like being dismissive and mean to NACS, but
right.
I am NACS, so you can't say that.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
We've been here this whole time. I want you to know I pointed at the wall when I said you. Thank you.
That's good. That's good.
Big round. Regain. They have taken control. F5 stand firmly in their way, though they're by a little bit busted. No op. Kermie, just a... Well, we're talking to UMP, but I won't comment for now.
Burning Grape out of that corner. They're hearing him walk out. Got to take advantage of this, and Cameron just going to be seeing over the top to Grape.
We were talking about gimmicks before. That's another fantastic one, and the timing of it is beautiful.
The entire direction of the round here has got to be peeving back towards B. I mean, Sasha walking here with the bomb, too. With all this access, and with the 1 minute mark now striking in round 19, I mean, nothing has been done to get Divider out, besides just leaving Zukar up with 1 Molotov. He could refresh this. They're going to go for the monster clear. Not sure if I love this decision so late in the round by F5. However, it's exactly what the doctor ordered. Bomb dropped. Just what they needed with 35 seconds to go.
Yeah, dropping the bomb there, it's massive. Further information. Now Kermie feels confident to push on forward. And in they go to the Lion's Den of B.
Kermie ready to cause a little bit of confusion, but might as well invite that UMP in to help out a bit. Not required. Flawless win for F5 at such a big moment to do that. I mean, talk about these last 3 rounds and the roller coaster we've been on.
It's pivotal. It really is. Regain had found their footing at the perfect time. broken F5's economy, and now F5 have the chance to do that right back to them. 2 rounds straight would do it. Zinko, the only one with cash, still good to go. 5 ready to roll, but that's a nasty nade. Dirk eats the near maximum on it.
Oh my god, what?
Oh my gosh!
Sends a laser through the wall. See you later to Sasha.
And they're clearing Monster again. They're going for the same push, though, at a minute 30. That is insanity from F5, and no one's here, though. Grape has heard it.
Yeah, and I think Dirk understands exactly what's just gone through as well from the back end of connector. Grape is going to give this so much space, but will pay the price. Relenting bold decisions here by the B captain to cause that investigation. Bones just walks back. Kermi, sure he might have been alerted to the possibility of Fuzenko coming around, who's just not being as precise. Things are getting tricky. Dirk washes out Kermi, but in the cost of this trade frag coming through, left it all up to Zukar. Will disappear likely into the tied game that F5 strike up themselves.
Beautiful turnabout. Regain, breaking F5. The perfect moment. Well, this might be even more perfect for F5 to bust down the walls of Regain's bank accounts. They're coming through, and there's no stopping them. Fuzenko, it's ambitious, but 2-round loss bonus. The right call is to save. Fuzenko goes hero mode. He's been a massive impact player for Regain over the last 3 months. He's been quiet on the Overpass front. Now is the time where he could bring them individually over the line. Glocks otherwise. No other upgrades. Just a couple of pistols and Fuzenko's AK. There's flashes to get into this site, and that's it.
It's a one-size-fits-all type of setup that is just posted by F5, so that's why this is going to look routine. Dirk still here on this rifle, pour through these barrels. There's a man on top of your head! Oh my god! Cameron just killed Grape! That is insane! Saved his teammate in ridiculous dramatic circumstance. 11 rounds here for F5, and have a little bit of fun on the way, why don't ya?
They needed a hero, and the hero is not Fuzenko. F5 have themselves a very close scenario where they might just be taking this Overpass. Cast your mind back. 13-3. Regain the victor last time. F5 now standing the lead. It's Fuzenko only on a MAC 10. AKs for the majority. Towards the A site again. Cannot continue to get buffeted by these grenades.
He pedals a lot more utility back to it. And gosh, F5. I mean, this is exactly what they were throwing back at them at round 21, right? It's complicated stuff. I mean, flashing through, spamming, getting a kill, decisions to go and, like, take Monster early. Another aggressive start that you leaned in there, and, like, Kermi stuck around. I mean, this was a play happening down inside a short, too. This is a good way for Regain to get caught inside of all this chaos that they start themselves, but in a minute have recovered. Regain just in one of their more default circumstances at the moment. Focal point
Eyes on Kermi again. Owns his AWP right around the corner, but slow and steady. They haven't made a peep, not a noise.
Shadow advantage. Kermi has to go and shift for this kill. It might be a second. Ask of Kermi. Not right now. Off still in posted. Big miss by Bones.
Oh, no.
Less than 30 have ticked off of our timer. Grape, he turns around. He is going to be strangling the flank onto Signal. Not going to have to worry about that. But you've forgotten about Nate. The nightmare up through connector makes it a 2v2. This Bones take a risk for the round. Just seeing a little bit of utility thrown back at the top of Dumpster. He's going to flash his AWP out here, and it's just a little too fancy for this peek from Nate to pay off and work to perfection. Still alive. Nate is pedaling 22 HP on this rifle. Bones has just got to juke him out, and there's the highest rated player of this map gone. Historically, the highest rated player in Overpass, Dirk, is a non-factor right now and cannot protect from 12 rounds that F5 submit first.
Dirk can't deliver, Zukar can't collect, and F5 can step to 12 on the first opportunity. Brilliantly played there by Bones and Nate. As again, it's been a real team effort across the board. Wonderfully handled by Nate. I am so big a fan of how he deals with this. Comes back in, expertly handling that to get a double swing. Could have easily allowed for Dirk to isolate them, does not do so. Regain about to lose on map 1. They're not careful. And Kermie, opening duel. Zinko's nightmares continue.
Oh my gosh, this is it. This is the end. Regain, they've recovered 3 versus 5s inside of this T side. But here, it's going to have to be decided. Brass tacks. And Nate, he has just been so good to this point. Got Signal in his back pocket, and it's attached at the hip. You are not going to be decimating this duo. 13-11. The last time they matched up on Overpass, it was 13-3 for Regain. F5, in less than 3 weeks, are a different team.
Yeah, I mean, they have been buffered around. They have been in trouble. Obviously, changes to the Regain roster, certainly fair to talk about, but still, F5 came in, and they came in with a vengeance. This Overpass, very impressive, top to bottom. I think the T side looked really good. Slow, methodical. Those rounds were quality. Even then, once they got caught up in some of those faster B attacks, they came back, recentered, slowed things down again. And then on the CT side, I just really am impressed by not just the A-hold, but the, quality of F5 and their aggressive maneuvers. The takes in Monster, the takes in Water, the times in which they were able to pull out these gimmicks on the boost. Like, I'm very happy with the way that F5 showed themselves on that CT side, overcame Regain to pull this back.
It was very impressive. An Overpass that they play more than any other team at a tier 2-3 level in North America. And that was, I think, a hurdle. They just came over, hopped over it, really had to submit their ticket back. I don't know what type of practice they've been putting in. You can see it's very dynamic what they're throwing into it, but I think they're going to have to carry over that type of mentality, that type of pace to have any sort of chance walking into this Inferno, Vincent, that is going to be so tough here. I think Regain have played like 15 of these inside of 2026, and they won 10 of them. I mean, they're one of the best Inferno teams inside of North America at this tier 2 level, and when they're losing, it's to better units like Marsborn that Inferno is a part of their classic stamp just the same.
Yeah, very excited to see what that Inferno brings. We've got that coming up. A break, though, ahead of that, so do not go far. We'll jump into that Inferno when we return.
F5 still forcing their way through this upper bracket. And Vincent, I don't know, they seem to be farming some pretty good fortunes here against Regain, but I think you're on to about as good of home turf as it can get here in ECL in terms of one of these teams, in terms of map picks. Going from an overpass of F5's choice onto Regain's Inferno, right? We can review some of these vetoes maybe and jog your memory through this process. But Vinny, I mean, this is probably, if you asked me to predict the veto, how that 1-2 punch would have worked out.
Yeah, I think that there's nothing too crazy. This wasn't surprising, like you're highlighting, but for Overpass, it's definitely been a go-to for F5. The fact that they recovered last time they played it was they lost 13-3. They now win 13-10. That's a huge change. But Inferno was dominantly Regain's map before, and to be honest, I think it should probably stay that way. Now, I'm going to probably paint a different picture here in a second when I talk about why F5 might be able to change that. But this is a Regain team that is basically untouchable on this Inferno map. There's a lot of reasons for it, but I think that their protocols are so good. They have so much time that they have been, playing this map. Also, this is, in my opinion, one of Zukar's best maps. I think it's also one of Sasha's best maps. Like, on an individual level, they can be untouchable here, and that's the biggest problem. Not to mention the fact that they're on a 4-map winning streak where they've not dropped anything more than 8 rounds at any point over those 4 maps. So it's pretty darn good if you would look at the stat lines before.
Yeah, that's true. I would say that I had the same sentiment going into In Control's Inferno for F5, but F5, they destroyed it with a really flimsy resume. I mean, I was talking about the FRZ unit series in our last map, talking about how concerning that was. A lot of close games versus that team there on Inferno, but into In Control flipped the entire script. But I'm willing to bet that won't be the same here in our second map onto Regain's turf. It just wasn't a good look for Scorchy and Co. that night. It was a really full force of F5.
Fuzinko's struggling.
Oh no. Yeah, a bit of a quiet first map from Fuzinko. Dirk also amongst the quieter bunch, but here they're all gonna get put away. Sasha and Dirk, the last players alive. I mean, catching you these couple USP shots. It's back up on the way and will appear around this corner. Dirk is going to be destroyed. F5 pull up quick to just Regain's home turf. In air quotes, they're already frantic.
I'm trying to remember. Have Regain won a pistol? You
Taps on noggin.
Yeah, can you remember for me, please?
My brain is toast.
Hold on.
It was my third overpass of the day. You think I can remember that?
I had faith in you. Apparently misplaced faith.
Wow.
No. I'm just saying, it's true.
It's true.
No, Regain does not want a pistol. I've just fact-checked. Yeah, it's 3 pistols in a row for F5.
Hey, how are they not winning pistols? Fuzinko's goated with the Glock.
Dude. Dink, doink, donk. That was the 3 dinks from the Glock.
That was pretty quick. F5 gets us started pretty standard stuff, but I mean, this was a part of the recipe that caused that entire upset versus In Control. It was just them relentlessly answering to each detail given back. And part of the precipice, maybe this is a pace that we're starting to, like, really start inconsistent to call for current squad for this calling out of signal. I think this is really an interesting unit they've cooked up, and dynamic T-sides all around. I feel like I've been pretty impressed each step of the way. Syracuse back online. My third best of 3 in watching these folks. They're getting better each step of the way.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Credit to Signal, who, is the guy that I really know the least about when it comes to
28 years old as well, popping off with this type of experience. I mean, he's been playing with this core for a little while, but I believe was a part of the duo that replaced Vinny and Little Beer.
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know. He was playing with them
like
at the time of that Frag Knoxville.
Yeah.
LAN, but I don't remember. I like talked to them a lot, but I don't remember if he was with them at that event.
Ah, yes, my field reporter Vincent on the scene, collecting me my information. Negotiate the narrative here. I'm not even sure they're going to see Nate before they decide to really lock in this site. 30 seconds here. And Kermie might get back on the way, but, I mean, smoke drops. Nate is going to be back behind that Molotov. He's deciding to stick around. What a way to die, Nate. He dies to the Molotov trying to walk out. Could have at least went down swinging. Excuse me. 3 of these players back on the B site. Standard regain round. And Grape is trying to cut off the exits.
He's making me make noises that don't make sense. It's a crazy flick from Grape. Legendary, one might say. Great angle from Dirk, and yeah, this is a round that's easy for regain. A pretty ugly one, though, from F5, just to be keeping it a buck. You know, a lot of positivity that we've been spouting, and I'm here to do that when given the opportunity, but that Nate situation wasn't exactly pretty. Seemed a little bit questionable, maybe, the decision-making on that point. They'll buy what they can afford. AWP for Bones. Nate has an M4. I know you're excited to see a Mag 7.
Yes, shout out Thruster.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Can reference all of our Tier 3 South American teams that nobody will notice, but I bet there's somebody out there. I bet there's somebody out there that knows ball.
Everybody here actually just got done watching the South American ECL show, so they know.
Yes, they do. Home one check around the corner, and unfortunately, the buckshot won't hit 100%.
Dude, it was close, though. 2 health with an F.
Come on. Valve, please fix. 2 over the top.
Potentially neat setup here at the top of Banana.
Flash over. I'm not sure how I feel about them swinging. Kermie and Nate come up with 3 bodies, though. Outpace regain. Had to go and decipher what was about to seize out of that smoke, and they saw every sentiment. I mean, 3 kills off of it, still reaching. The dual smokes back to B. I'm afraid this isn't round over for regain. Still with all that work done. Grape doing a lot of the introductions, though, and I would be more of a fan if it was Dirk leading on this altercation. Kermie in and out of that smoke. Got nobody back to a new box, but the shots prompted up by Cameron. And the bomb will be planted by Dirk. And there they
gotta
strike
leave
to Grape.
that. Oh, man. Oh, no escape, but there's the op gone. 3 health for Dirk.
Can fight towards CT. Dirk is not an easy man to finish off. Up to the top of orange. It will be Kermie that just sees that out of the corner of his eye. A 3rd here for F5. Flash play that buys them the entire batch from the bottom of B.
What a recovery, man. I was talking about the Nate Kermie setup over there at Banana, and I thought it was a cool one at the top of Car, sure, but I didn't anticipate them to be swinging on that thing. Good flashbang. I don't know who threw that. I think Nate might have tossed it. It might have been like an alley-oop to himself. But regardless, it's right on the money. And they catch 3 players blinded. It's a beautiful spray down. And that's what gives F5 the opportunity. After a really problematic round prior to that, it's a big change up as Regain the ones economically back-footed. Be not initially a lot of utility down Banana, but they're going to throw a halfway smoke, then a deeper smoke. There is a lot of investment at Banana to start the round.
Now it says, second to it, Nate so swift. Kermie will continue to spam, and he's going to get a 3rd off of this. Regain, I know you're better than what you're showing. The body's back to Banana.
Dude, did Nate just, like, put a hex, a curse, upon Regain? I could have sworn that they should have been able to hear him getting into position at logs. But then even more so, the second guy comes flying through, I think it was Dirk, and isn't even looking. Maybe the comm was, he had repositioned the broom? I don't know, but that was ugly for Regain. Uzinko 1v4 ain't going nowhere, even though he's got the bomb.
Cut out. Calm down, says Cameron. I mean, all of this is okay. Hermie and Nate are just directing this ship and steering. So good there through the top of car consistently. When you regain, just go away. The way that he picks up that AK and finds himself on a platform for that frag is just fantastic.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with Nate there. I'm also a little confused at what regain we're getting up to.
This is becoming sloppy.
Yeah, it is. I'm in agreement there.
Quickly into
Molly.
brackets.
Going quick.
He's so fast. We're just gonna try and hop over the hay barrel. Cameron gonna need probably every bullet inside of this clip, but he has just been dispatched with. Bomb onto the site. Guaranteed plant here and a check for regain, but
Hold up.
work as an AK.
A little bit of a waste there for Kermie, unfortunately.
Oh boy.
Oh, buddy. This is bad news getting worse. Bones and Kermie. Honestly, I think they should low-key save. Probably won't.
Oh my gosh.
Now they will.
Yeah, should have took the sign. Lost Nate Dogg, 1 and 2 regulators, so F5, they'll phase out of this thing. 1 versus 3. Bones will clip Sasha on the way out. Regain, realization that all they had to do was just avoid Kermie and Nate. Overback and Banana. It's on the
That's
eco,
a
technically.
little...
I don't know what you
Yeah,
want
a
to call that,
little bit of a
half-buy.
confusing one. Nah, more of a half buy than an eco. They had lots of utility and, of course, 9s and such. The A-hold, it could have been better. That's always the danger when you're playing hit and balcony at the same time. You can pivot off of one another really nicely, but if anyone gets to the site, you don't have a crossfire. There's no defenses once the site control has been lost, so... F5 get into a little bit of trouble there.
Nate in that corner will be cleared in that second effort by Zukar. Kermie here, concrete in this setup with another Molotov, but that's only going to make time for the next couple of moments. Still restricting, but we'll sit, retake back for Signal, who walks back with 1 smoke. Cameron and Bones also leave what was an established setup inside of the brackets.
5. A pretty good setup considering. The amount of utility, though, that's coming on this execute is going to be pretty supreme. Crossfire for now for Kermie and Signal, but Signal will be isolated. Unless they go for a reaggression.
Wait, but this might be perfect. It's a nade smoke that pops over the top, and just their opportunity missed. Signal is going to be spammed out. I'm not sure he would have held the site anyway. You do have this rotate on over. Cameron put up a couple through the smoke, but if he knows what's good for him, he should find this rifle in a good place to hide.
Yeah, should be a peace out type of angle for F5. And honestly, I'm split between 2 minds on whether or not that's a good repush on top Banana or not. They're out of info, but it's a situation where they don't really have the utility to actually facilitate that. There's not a flash. There's just a nade. That's it. And that's really not enough. So I think I'm convincing myself it's probably a little bit lesser, not quite the right call. Certainly wasn't the right outcome. Regain gonna be taking 3. Oh, and where it was sloppy, they cleaned things up for that apps pop. Get themselves onto the site. Honestly, more of a little A split than an apps pop. But hey, call it what you will. It's a win. And then they attack the B bomb site with ease. It's now F5's turn to take a pause and be broke. I love how in Counter-Strike, it's just like an inevitability at some point in the game, you'll be broke.
It's a good sentiment for life, you know?
Is it?
You can build yourself up and be
broke.
NBA. Never broke again, baby. You find that in a certain signal.
There's a terrifying amount of, like, both NBA and NFL players who are broke very quickly out of leaving the league.
Not the NBA I was referencing, but hop off, King.
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
It's probably the one time I can appropriately make an NBA YoungBoy reference on his Counter-Strike live stream. Wherever the hell that came from.
You're welcome.
Yep. Not that I would like to.
What these two guns have got. Cameron's moving over to B, and actually, everybody's going over to B as well. A few little bits and bobs invested into a fake hit. F5 comes scrambling.
Yeah, that smoke standing out arch at the moment. Not sure that's gonna tempt F5 back to rotate A. Gonna keep it here on B. Bones and Cameron alive. Poor signal. Gonna be here on an island. Fortunately, we'll die alone, I'm afraid. Surrounded by many regain faces. Lose his in the process. 40 seconds left, and bomb plant inevitable. Oh, how do you do? A couple of these pistols. Nate, Fermi, ain't got all day. They're gonna wait and wander for it. Dirk will serve him 2 slices.
Yeah, this T side heating up a little bit, getting some freebies in the process. The T side, by the way, for Regain, it's really impressive. They actually have a higher win rate on their T side than their CT side. Though, to be honest, I wonder if that's more because they play more T-side rounds because they pick Inferno all the time. And most teams would elect to start CT. Just hypothesizing.
This is crazy.
You know mine.
Oh my gosh, Bones. Please get out of this thing alive. I'm begging you. Won't get it. Dirk says no up for me either. Regain want to keep this thing as engineerable as possible, as fluid as they can with all 5 rifles.
Here we go. Ooh, an interesting decision here by Bones. They'll take a lot of concessions in the utility belt to get him an op. He's been fantastic on it, not disagreeing with this decision whatsoever. But it is certainly a decision that has consequences. Oh no, or Nate. Spammed, he had barely even taken a shot. It's Kermie who was taking all the aggro.
Because of everything that's came before this, Regain, you would not blame them for reacting like that. Cameron gonna be putting 1 more through the smoke. Can he land this second spam? You've done enough. Cameron playing with House of Money on the B side. If they're losing Nate inside of that setup, Regain would have loved to have punished that all the way through, and they likely should have. Cameron here, just gotten a little bit of breathing room. They look at this Molotov in the assist through CT. 1 spam, and it's gonna get close. Cameron caught slipping. They would have burned him out anyway. Grape does find a couple of shots on the signal. Why is this taking so long for Bones to get here? But will arrive to no CT smoke, and potentially the problem to poke into CT. This was made for him. Signal and F5 shut down the desperate retake gunfight into CT.
I really wish that Regain had just planted the bomb at that point. I think that they are believing, because it's taking so long for the rotation to arrive, that something funky is occurring. And I don't really blame them for that. That's relatively sound logic. But regardless of the reasoning, if they had just gotten the bomb down, they could have gotten into a post plant that was a real crossfire. Could have been very problematic for F5 to break apart. And they don't. For that reason, F5 going to be victorious, and they'll be taking the lead once again. Lead given up just by a tied game, but still significance. And a lot of commitment here at Banana.
To the bottom of this. Card is going to pop up in Nate's face. Does ultimately have a double. Kermie just, I mean, signs and endorses that second kill. The problem is there's still nobody standing around other than Cameron, so Bones' kill is going to be so gratifying for the round, and where F5 stand, they can afford to put one man on the B site now. Bomb gonna make its way back there, but it's gonna take like 15 seconds to just stand next to Fuzinko, who will just be put on the ground alone. No trade, attempt in reach. Sasha 1 versus 3.
Anybody to do it. Sasha's certainly capable. Bomb plant feels inevitable, though. Playing a dangerous game. Looking like they wanted to go through this smoke. Love this boost. That's gonna keep the round within reason. Not a lot of risk. High reward as Cameron elevated. Another nice shot at a Bones on the A side of the map. It's a multi-kill, good trade fragging, even there for Regain, but for F5, just a little bit better. Last man standing on B, puffs up their chest, is a threat. And Regain now on the struggle bus. He's up in 5 because they are allegedly about to be taken out fast in this anti-force by so much damage from that molly.
Now just into the frenzy. Zukar finding the opening entry, but right now creating enough distance for Great Bones. You have to hit the shot. You have to hit the shot. No way. They've gotten this much space on this. I mean, now it's these pistols that have made the difference. Sasha has shattered, made a really uncomfortable moment. Worse than Great. What? Unbelievable. One frame around the corner is going to frighten F5 from even thinking about the retake. In your nightmares with that shot is Grape. A glistening double kill. You know, when I saw Grape back into action playing with Cajun and Co., I got so excited to see him back with Polo because of stuff like that. I mean, this guy's been hanging around in the NA scene because he's been too clean for years.
Bro. I'm actually so glad we didn't watch Graves' POV because that looked so much more incredible from his opponents. That was
I see what you mean.
Actually ridiculous. And it can't happen twice. Not in the same half, but it has. Regain. Catch themselves a break over here at A. I mean, that's a duel between two blind people occurring.
The difference
between Bones and whoever, Sasha, on the Glock.
The difference between an 8-4, most likely. I mean, the 7th would have been secured. That was against the pistols.
Yeah.
F5 are not going to get many chances like that against Regain on Inferno. I mean, I don't think I have to echo that.
Let's take their second tack pause here. They know how important that was, and they know how big a deal it is that Regain have just won their second half by eco round in this half, and it's via the same exact maneuver too. Fast bracket. It is something that I think Regain have recognized that F5 have, not every round, but often been putting 3B early, so it is a good reaction. Credit where it's due. Sasha on the calling front.
Signal seeing this streak right out. Oh my god, what an ugly moment by Signal. No, that is going to make him cringe within. Not the sentiment you wanted to have. F5 on top of the Glock loss. Kermie and Bones. This ain't happening, my friends. I'm afraid to be the guy to tell ya. Back turn, Zukar will kill ya. A double, and it's a 6-6 first half. Those two speak louder than words.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with the way in which we saw Regain come back from uncomfortable scenarios. Whenever they were broken economically, They had one of those A hits, and they succeeded on them. F5 in a little bit of trouble right there after we get to halftime. I think 6-6, it's doable, but it's by no means the impressive story that we were telling on Overpass. Impressed with what this Regain team has considerably put together. Their map pick continues when we come back.
My opinion, that first half was headed in an F5 sentiment, but Regain rearranged my entire itinerary by winning those last two rounds, Vincent. We went from 8-4 to 6-6, but I know they got a hex on him placed upon him at this point. They even won a pistol. Now's the most important time to do that.
Yeah, I do think that those two rounds, those two eco/force buy wins coming in from Regain, that's the story. Don't get that twisted. Don't let it get lost in the process. Because without them, Regain would have been in some serious hot water. But now they move on to the CT side. F5. Be honest with you, no, it's not really all that impressive, their T side. So, even though they limited Regain in some ways to their typical standard, I don't think that the fight is over, not by any means.
Yeah, I really agree. I think that in the same way that, I mean, Regain gave them a run for their money on their pick of Overpass, it'll probably be a good effort here from F5, but I'm wondering if they have enough to, I mean, really put out Regain on the CT side of Inferno. Kind of
this read might be good.
Their little sentiment from that first half, but into a pistol where they have been looting to this point. They're loving this access to the B site that they have got already. Zukar is going to come to try and punish down on the camera and can't confirm the kill, but really, it fit the crime. It's Regain back on time into CT to retake.
These two players in Banana, a little bit concerning for F5 because they're going to be separated from this with everybody coming through backhaul and CT. Smoke as well that's going to cut them off.
Now they gotta go. There's a less than third left on this timer, and 3 shots make it 4 will tick. Grape is gonna go crazy. 2 kills out of it, but all 4 pistol rounds caught by F5 here, and they will drive into the second half at their own pace.
It's a beautiful sentiment, and for F5, if you can win 4 pistols in the first 2 maps, that is one way to give yourself a massive leg up on any opposition, even if it's regain. The fact that they're here in an upper bracket final, F5 that is, it's a surprise. The fact that they're the team in this matchup that has yet to drop a map, also a surprise, but I'm here for it. I'm here to see what they can continue to do. Not a forest buy, just a grape deagle.
You said great to deagle there for a second. I'm like, well, that works when I realized what you said, because he does have a pretty sharp pistol. But this would be a little wild now, wouldn't it? You just be around that corner, and Vazinko, he's got that completed. It's a 2 versus 4. Kirby has got to overwhelm them to make up for this. Mac-10 is going to have to go big. Signal around the corner is going to get Fuzinko and Zukar, but so far, nothing has been negotiated yet to the finish line. Is Kermi around this corner? Has cut him up to 40. Not enough bullets in the mag here. Kermi, don't get cold feet right now. And Kermi will complete. Here, where F5 feel the nerve on the 2 versus 4, felt that pistol round slipping out of their hands.
I'm a little bit concerned, Mark. That was like $1,000 total that Regain spent, and 700 of that was Grape's Deeg. So, basically USPs just did that to F5, and it takes a 2v4 Mac-10s. Wonderful. And I mean that genuinely, a wonderful clutch, but it shouldn't have been needed. See if my concerns can be abated.
Ooh. There you go.
There we go. Jinx.
That's me like, oh, I can't talk actually.
Yep, sorry.
Come on.
Now you got it. I will.
I thought you were gonna say my name 3 times, bro. Is not that like that. Breaking the rules.
Hold on. I fear that this was like a different location growing up, and the rules are different near me.
I agree. You know how where I'm from in St. Louis, we're the only town in the U.S. to say a joke before getting Halloween candy. It has to be valid. If you're not funny, get off of my front stoop, bro.
Wow,
that's a real.
That's high pressure.
That's why I'm so
pressure.
funny.
Ah,
yeah. In case you were wondering.
I'm glad to find out. We're here on A. Regain. Themselves a good setup. But F5 have full bracket control, and alongside, never mind, Kermi's dead.
Yeah, they're going to double up with that flash. Sasha, a nice 2-piece, but, I mean, the sentiment in the pit is going to be worse. A team kill at the top of Cameron is going to help out Grape. I can call that a triple kill for him personally, but Grape doesn't need any sort of free love for that. He'll force it onto 7. Really good work. Grape newest pickup for Regain, showing why he's worth every single consideration that he's had onto every little tier 2 project. He was really, I mean, where we popped out and saw him probably the most was in like season 2 of CCT back on Vibe. Other than where he's historically played most of his career.
Oh,
but
brother,
I think he's sort of
just retired a little guy
since then, right? Like, am I wrong? Sort of been only on like group in mixed teams. This is what I'm trying to say.
Actually, he was retired way before that.
Okay.
So you would know because you weren't there.
With the biggest Grape fan ever. Go ahead. Where's your
third
triumphant
impact,
third
baby.
impact jersey, bro?
I don't own one. But I did cash him in that jersey.
There you go. That's a bragging right. That I do not have.
Yeah, that's where, you know, he really made the initial splash, that triumph.
Oh my gosh. Work around that corner. Grape is going to cut him up. Back to pit. Back to quitting on that play. Arf F5 will take a minute. and fancy with the MP7. And Sasha will not be stricken from the record. Bro is flying through the sky at 1 HP. Enough alive to make that 8-8.
I have an admission to make,
Okay,
Mark.
okay, what is it?
I thought they were ecoing, and so I really wasn't paying attention that much, but I realized right at the end of the round they forced. F5, that is. And that's an oopsie. I just, you know, gotta be honest. Important to be honest. But the bad news for F5, they weren't ecoing that last round, which means that they got Glocks. It's Glock mode, baby. Wait, what a craft. IHC stickers?
What, on this fancy little whiteout?
Yeah,
Sasha got that drip.
Cool. Also the like one nip sticker as well. Like that's sick.
It's got the Vincent validation stamp of approval.
Yeah, and I'm not that much of a skin cell, so
there you go. A word for that, apparently.
That might be a classic Richie Lewis that I've just like yoinked.
Wouldn't be the
It's
first
a good
time.
one.
I would,
I
wouldn't argue against that.
Like it's probably not very kind, but hey, I didn't say it would be. There was no promise. He's not on this team.
Check out the Boreal Forest down here in Pitt. What you need this for? 35 cents.
Why are you attacking Dirk, man?
Got it from the thrift shop,
mean.
man. If it ain't cheap, ain't got no fashion. That's the way it's supposed to work. One peek around that corner, and Cameron is gonna curb ya. Fazinko with 2. Curves that lane right for a moment. Dirk here will still stab. I'm probably speaking a little bit too ahead of myself. Well, there's that Deagle and Armor now destroyed, detonated by the setup of the duel of Dirk and Grape. On to 9, now a regain.
Detonated? You mean like detonate?
Yep, like Fisher detonate that one.
No,
Like
because
Talon.
Sasha was on detonate.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. This team was actually detonate at one point, believe it or not.
I can believe that through the 3 years that they have been regained and to multiple, Aspire, what do you want to say, right? Like,
Yeah.
they will always be
Was
regained.
Sasha,
in my mind.
Zukar, Dirk, Poseidon, and someone who Arcade? Maybe?
Yeah. It's a good shout. Obviously, Bezzy,
Fun
Kaylin,
games.
Marky Mark. I'm talking about Marky, obviously.
Yep.
I'm allowed to call him that.
Fun games aside, we got an important round here for regain. Probably more for F5, actually. Let me reframe that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's proper. He's right here, at least pulling back up to B. This is, a stricken sentiment that was at least back from the end of their CT lane back to at least where they're calling up the plays. X's and O's look a little bit better for regain at the moment. They're just holding the utility, the reaction, and they're back on A as well. Accepting anything that F5 throw at them in the next 40.
This A fake is probably going to be effective, at least keeping the 3 regain members that are currently at A on A.
Yeah, but how much will Kermie be able to really do? I don't see Kermie like getting here and having impact, so it's all going to be to the pack. Molly, everybody's going to have to pass through. And Zukar risks his life, comes up with nothing there on the first peek. Bomb going to get put down. Zinko can't cancel anything. One shot lands a couple of spams there onto Bones. Right here to the bottom of Banana goes Dirk. 3 players into CT. And regain, gotta decide whether to really lift the finger into this retake. This wouldn't be a ridiculous decision to save right now. And you've lost the anchor.
Go.
I feel like you gotta get out here with your head held high. more importantly, I'm talking about all three guns. Sasha around this corner, they've done the hard part. He'll lose his life, but I would say majority rules here. Bones with a second there is going to be so suffocating to provide a 9-9 scoreline.
Yeah, unfortunately for Regain, enough was done. Like I said, Kermit keeping the 3 players a day. It's a beautiful entry from Cameron, if I'm not mistaken. Takes down the one man who is on the site proper. Zukar, as you were highlighting, takes the risk. Yeah, it was Cameron. And then the utility is just perfect. Regain, or excuse me, F5, they don't overstep. They don't fight when they don't need to. And then where Dirk goes down, he's the banana player coming in on the flank. Kermit just disrupts that, and that Regain have to get out. They don't keep much of anything, and so they've got to rebuy a lot of guns. They had that money. No problem, don't have to take out any loans. No loan sharks, but it is expensive. This could be the chance for F5 to retake control. Very similar to the second half of Overpass, by the way.
I agree. Very fitting to the energy. And that's what I was kind of worried about. The end of Overpass was, I mean, Regain doing so well, but not enough to take the map. Is this where F5 fade out? Hermie not going to get caught here. Oh, but he's waiting for a different type of rotate, even going to earn Fazinko here. And if he may have stepped a little too soon, he could have ruined that. Weirdly working out for Kermit at the moment, but F5 overcooking. I mean, Kermit has gotten control in brackets here, and as we see in our mini-map, they have the rotate back. You may even get this look from Kermit. Fazinko does find this, so they may change their mind again. 25 seconds, and honestly, I'm a fan of this. We're back on board. Bones here has to go through the smoke, and Cameron is cut off. This goes or it doesn't. One flash over the top. Zukar this time is getting not 1, but 2 kills. Last time he came away with nothing. A grave empty, but now full of 5. A flawless win for Regain.
At least he doesn't go down after time. That would have been even more tragic. Zukar tacking up a triple kill. And yeah, I don't really think F5 overcooked there. Honestly, a lot of pretty decent decision making. They start to pull back the other way. My biggest problem with the way this round was handled is just that it was all happening a little bit too late. And shout out Regain, who really don't overcommit. They don't bite the bullet. They don't go down. And it would have been a really nice lurk if either Kermit or, late, I think it was Bones, were to have been able to get through Archside. But it's do or die time for F5. With that round and a perfect one at that, Regain now still have economy to fall back on. F5 will buy one more time, at least in succession. And it's going to include a very limited set of utility.
Oh, getting burned at that is Nate. I mean, thanks this time he didn't die to the Sasha Molotov. Like in the first half. Aid back over the board.
Crazy.
Kermit is going to reach for a very early lurk here. And I feel like if that's the best we've got, this is going to be probably confirming our fears. F5 phase out here towards the end of the fourth quarter. Zinko going to be putting up a couple of shots. Spams in the smoke. Nate's still finding his way through. But at 1 HP, he's going to be staying in that corner and set lifelessly. Cameron may have had a chance there. But Bones here with the bomb on his back. 1 whole minute, and we're going to sit for 60.
Yeah. I mean, he was a little late to the party, to be honest. The bomb potentially forgotten. Potentially. One thing leading to another very quickly in that attack, F5. I think they were hoping that Regain would be fighting Banana. They weren't, and so the limitations, they began to mount. F5's attack. Well, with that, you said the 1 minute wait for Bones. Regain not moving. They don't care about him saving this AK. And they really shouldn't. This AK, I won't say it complicates matters, because it doesn't. It's always better to have a gun than not. But their economy will be off kilter. Regain are just a couple of steps away from confirming this Inferno. But I want to say it early. You know, this is technically still winnable for F5. And they have done a wonderful job of playing a competitive Inferno against an Inferno team that just doesn't get beat very often.
Only cracked that clue versus in control. Right now, pops over the top. Maybe an op shot between the legs, but Lurk, Dirk will have that back on the flick. What a punishment to be paid at the very pull that this thing started from. Back on Nate's handing of the CT side. It's Bones with 1 kill. That was the gun that was saved over. Cameron's just gonna pop one over the top. We're going Puggy, and it works. Cameron onto Vizinko. Depending on how Dirk gets out of here, it could be deadly. Cameron got to get this bomb down. Not gonna be expecting Signal.
Signal.
Bomb goes down. Signal that just secures the frag around the corner. They know about Grape. The problem here is that they have no nades. So Grape now spotted. Signal gotta be confident here and still standing inside a tree. Can't clip the branch into CT. Sasha's still walking it up. Needs this fight, but just walks into the laser. Signal saying, I can hold this. Grape's gonna gun him down, but it's 3 for the in-game leader when he needs it the most. F5 had to force that thing down the hatch. Regain had every reason to believe in 12 there.
From basically knocked out of this map to right back in it, it's via Signal the F5 get their ticket. And it's just the same type of vibe as what we saw from Regain on their T side. Half by Eco wins, frustrating scenarios. It's Bones with 1 gun, but it's Signal on the recovered rifle that does the biggest damage. That triple is so perfect. His highest impact frags of the series, arguably, in that 2v4. Hermie can't keep doing this. I feel like he has been caught so many times. And here we go again.
Hermie. Rookie stuff right there. Repeated mistakes. You know, standing and feeling so strong about that play. At a certain point, you have got to bring it back to the workshop.
Well, and every time it's been a B-pop right afterward, too.
Yeah, they know it's coming. Still, no rotate. So standing in Vizinko is going to let them pass. 1 shot over the top, and it's aggressive look at a Zukar. I think they're really going to regret not going and just giving them the retake respect. Bomb is going to go down here. I feel like it could have been a lot worse for Regain, but just looking at this previous post plan, they had to get here so much faster, and they do. 1 Molotov on top of the bomb plant, and they end up getting a kill because of it. But the utility can't go deeper than that. They do have good util, but no Molotov to remove Bones. They could stack up the HEs here potentially, but it's really hard to pitch those out through backhaul. Perfect flashbangs, and now they're gonna have to wait and engage for the right time. Gonna see Bones, who goes and gets this done. Signal, it has to be 2 times in a row here, but he won't stand tall enough. Onto the bomb at the last second, 5-second defuse, barely off the skin of their teeth. A Regain confirming 12 on their map pick.
Very impressive from Regain. It looked likely. Unfortunately, I think there is a situation there where Bones just has to play a little bit more aggressive. They're at a man down. They don't have enough utility to try and fight consistently. And I think F5 get caught up in just trying to not make a mistake. And in doing so, they play too passively, let Regain overwhelm them. And at that point, F5 have lost their luster. Might not have lost this map yet. Or AKs. And it's a height utility belt. Go with them. Not quite everything used, but the vast majority of it in the first 30. 3 smokes, 1 flash remain for the remainder of F5. Beside Inferno. It'll be such a struggle.
For me, this time
Glad to
is
see
new apartments.
Glad to see Kermie changing that up. Been a talking point these last couple of rounds.
And I don't think I'm done speaking about that, but we have to see the rest of this T side through. One more pitch off the mound for Signal. And what's the speed? Gotta rotate back over to B. Bones has got to answer this back from Dirk. I'm talking in essence. Molotov right to the top of this. 2 more players going to come back here to the A side. 35, and what are they waiting for?
Yeah, this is too meandering.
Split between the 2. Dirk, such a good fadeaway shot. Bones here. I was asking you to make up for it, but I didn't think it would happen on the rifle. Unrestricted access to the A site with the perfect moto smoke is going to make this impossible for Regain, who decide to save. Right choice, but at a terrible time.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have the money, so they've really got to do this. That is such a ridiculous double kill from Bones. He's had 2 players rotating in to Arch side, pushing Library, and it looked to me like he would be caught, but he hesitates for a second, pushes back in a little bit of an off timing, finally when there's some success on the A site. They lock down the porch player, so the op goes down. With Dirk out, both of the Regain members push on to site, and it's Bones to catch them in the process of doing that. Wonderful moment from Bones. Extending F5's life. They may just get a push into overtime. P7s for Sasha and Grape. We've seen the best of Regain's economy here. No ops to speak of. That goes both ways.
Three-man B start. Couldn't be a better alert for F5. Dirk make the difference. 1 here, and that's not going to be enough. A site divided. Back to decide it on a deagle. Grape, gotta show how amazing you're gonna be when the world is against you. I'm afraid that's how most of us would look.
The storylines are writing themselves right now. They're gonna have to go for it. We're gonna have to put a pin in that, a pause. 3v4.
Signal just saw Fuzinko. He's got a gun through this smoke. We'll gauge it and has it onto Signal. It was Grape that got nothing from Pit. I'm going to need the opposite from Kermie, who's someone we've heavily criticized in these last couple of rounds for the lurks not going his way. Alive in the late round, how does he illustrate the difference? He gets nothing out of Pit, just on the cold box is Cameron to confirm overtime over his head. He couldn't land the spray. Is there the time?
No time.
Fuzinko can get on it. It will be a flash to 5 seconds, and we're headed to overtime. 24 all through it. F5 can't be pushed out in regulation.
Man, if that's planted anywhere else, if there is any other position other than Vina, then that is a done deal. That is, we're heading to Ancient. But instead, we get ourselves an overtime opportunity, a brilliant chance to see what this F5 team are made of. A wonderful call as well. Finally getting a little bit more on those faster bracket takes. It's not even as if they've started 3B a lot. I don't think that's the case. Regain were pretty consistently changing up their early CT side, but when 2 players are A, twice over in the last couple of rounds, F5 pivot and find the right victory.
Call this thing
The
0-0.
I feel like it's been writing itself because 2-0s all the way through here for F5 into the upper final. But bro, out of those 3 2-0s, every one of them has had an overtime.
2-0s can't be that easy. Requiring an overtime. Suddenly, we have all the ingredients. Kermie slow and steady through apartments. Do have the smoke down while Fazenko walks away. F5, if they call this play right now, it's going to be 2 times in a row that they catch 2 players alive on the A site. Sort of a little late for that.
I feel like they have so much utility, like they haven't been able to work with this type of utility for a minute. There it is.
Slow approach. 25 to go. 26, and Sasha will stick in a very good setup, but Fazenko may not even ask for the help. He'll do it himself. Fazenko doesn't need anything. Bones alone will die alone. How brutal. Nate here 1v4. Gonna see the back of heels and put Sasha down for it. A great sentiment for 13. Fazenko. How fancy. The 17-year-old player finds a triple inside a pit.
Was he in pit? I thought he was library. Am I crazy?
I'm a liar.
Okay.
Whoops.
Yeah, I think the insane part of that is that he's lined him up through the smoke. I was actually visibly confused for a moment there on how Fazenko was the one to take the first contact.
Operator.
Hello.
We're on the F5 channel. Oh boy.
Picks up phone.
Big nade coming down to shoot. I hung it up, Vincent. Ding dong ditch on the dial.
Wow, Zukar just got naded to oblivion. Misses his shot, flashed off of it, makes it hard. Though the nade, it's a return frag, and Dirk, it's through the edge of the half wall that Nate will get punished.
This is a sensation that they've rarely seen. I mean, it's usually the kill onto Kermie getting just killed on A every time. Concern, back to library, with the force fully up lane. So worried about Grape's permanent positioning through this entire half being in pit. Cameron, 2 kills. They got to go B. They're all going to rotate off of this. Grape is going to be knowing exactly where they arrive. Grape thinks he can save the round himself, but feels the cape take his legs out from under him, kicking this 13th up. It'll be Dirk back in here. Where does he rotate? His head's been spinning for 25 seconds, so it's sent off of his neck.
Dude, Cameron, it's out of nowhere. I don't even know how that happens on B. He must have caught the perfect timing, like walking or lurking through a smoke at the entry to B. But he catches both of the B players starting to rotate and just sprays them down. F5 miraculously keeping themselves alive. Fight for a little bit of an advantage in the second half of overtime. Mid push. First time for this. Regain haven't done this all half.
Decisions like this can lead to audibles in the offense. What did they see at the line that they can just go and collect from their own vision? It's Kermie that said, wait a second, I have this kill coming back from under, and he didn't negotiate it perfectly. And now it's just Nate flipping off of the feeling. And he's got 1 kill to go ahead and secure it. Bones here. I mean, he's flubbing a little bit of the utility. They got to turn the corner now into the hands of Zukar, and they're hot right in the sight. Zukar, where does he get this second peak? 71 HP, and he's buying all kinds of time. Cameron will have that. Dirk with 1 laid through the smoke. But if there was a more caring individual to attempt this, Kermie to go and walk this row. Yellow Brick Road to CT seems to be the path he's interested in. 50 seconds. Can phase out of B if he wants.
Oh, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. This is wonderful from Kermi. The longer that he commits to this, the more that Regain are going to have questions. No answers. Information. He is not here on the B site proper.
Oh my God.
Swings out. Oh, he's caught one.
Knows where he has gone. Sasha back to new box. Molotov just for this moment. Saved it in the pocket. Where's the pop? Flash to go. Kermi, he's overdoing this, but doesn't mean he's going to fumble the bag at the end. Feeling the nerves. Make sure that this is the opportunity that he doesn't give up. 14 here for F5. Back to his CT side that had every goal to glory.
It's Kermi, the king of the clutch, who delivers them from a devastating situation, and it's exactly as Kermi drew it up. Peaks on the timing, he's caught somebody with just the pistol out, not expecting to see anything, and Vision on the second, a massive opportunity that he delivers on. Oh, so wonderful as F5 on their T side get an advantage into the second half of overtime. But it can't be now that they put their foot up off the gas. You've got to punch that thing down into the floorboards. EWP for Bones. He's towards A. It's 2 there. And the 3-man setup that we saw and continue to talk about on the CT side for F5 on B.
Yeah, I mean, they gotta know it's coming from Nate now. Completely dodging that. I mean, avoiding putting a couple nades back in the process. I would call it even Stevens from Zukar and Nate, trading those HEs.
Maneuver back for Regain. They're looking more towards A now. But it is now a 3rd man joining. Cameron, the rotator. He's on Arch side.
Bone sneaking in. What a perfect time to try and just flip this thing at 50 seconds. Up Arch. This is the way that they're going to funnel into the site. Cameron off of a flash. She's a couple of blind faces, but will only face for one. Bones next level. Our player to watch tonight. Can double up inside a mini pit if necessary. Dirk next level will find Bones. Signal can try and send this out.
Man.
But you want to know who was on that other end? Dirk, the player that was in the head-to-head. Zinko has Kermi to watch out for. Meet him at 14. Or the king of the clutch stands up again. Grape waiting for his moment. Zinko dodged out of the corner. This is going to interrupt this. Kermi to the 1v1. And has all day to decide how he is going to take this forward. Flash up top. Kermi is going to keep it simple. But Grape, he's been here 100 times. But this will be the one he fumbles. Kermi, the king of the clutch. 2 times in a row to confirm 15.
A moniker for Kermi that is so befitting as he struggled on the T side. Round after round, some lurks that weren't quite effective. But here, in the biggest of moments, in the most massive opportunity that F5, that this team has ever had, from lands into an online game where now they could be in a grand final of ECL. That is what they are looking to play for. They have 2 chances. They struggled through regulation. It was 2 chances for Regain instead to pull this off, to push us to Ancient, and F5 staved them off. Will F5 now stand? Regain once stood.
Oh,
will they stand tall? Will their heads be above the rest?
Vincent, I just got an insane update from the lower bracket. In control, takes out LAG 2-0.
No way!
This is
What
going
is
to
happening?
be our cup number 2 all over again. We don't know what to think here towards these final 3. Somebody is going to be running it up against In Control in the lower bottom of this bracket. Round 29. Who is going to take us there?
It's been in overtime twice over in this upper bracket run for F5. Could it be now?
Signal off of his timing!
Oh!
And what a slaughter! Engineered by Signal, every member of F5 in a 1 versus 4 to Dirk. his to go ahead and get out of the house. Regain, I think, are going to be straight to the lower bracket, and who else but the sentiment of Kermie, set up with his in-game leader of Signal, and ever since Reactor 9, all the way back to F5, at the bottom of Advanced, now to the very top of ECL, F5 are headed to a grand final.
It is mind-blowing to see this continue to come on through. F5 2-0. They have not dropped a map in this cup at all. I am blown away. It is a beautiful sentiment for F5, who've never been at this point at any point in their careers or as an organization. F5 as well, top of where they have ever seen. I cannot believe it. Absolutely stunning from this F5 roster, and beautiful too for how long this core has stuck together to be booking themselves a ticket into a grand final with the core of Nate and Kermie and Bones. I'm in awe, to be honest with you, and it's a massive upset against Regain. Same situation on the lower bracket for In Control. What is happening? ECL Cup 3 is a different beast.
It really is. I don't know what to make of this much more than kind of going back to the negative sentiments back for LAG, kind of just viewing what the word was with this thing. It was a lack of firepower. The entire team played badly. I mean, this was In Control's best of 3 through and throughout. They blew him out on Mirage. They had a great performance out of DJ in that second map, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. And for LAG, having to forfeit out of Cup number 2, them being at LAN and everything that came in between that best of 3, letting Chicken Coop through. I said on that stream with Apples in Cup number 2 that Lag should be winning this event if they were here. And into the next, I put the pressure on him, Vincent. This is DJ and Cryptic not knowing how to feel right now, and I guarantee there's likely a very awkward sting inside of that VC right now. I feel like there's going to be some changes coming down the Life's a Game pipe soon.
Well, a beautiful way for us to get into this upper bracket, though, because I'm going to be honest, this is crazy to see this come and be put out like this, 2-0s all the way through. F5, I think it's beautiful too. The way that they make this happen against Regain is just some individuals really stepping up. 2 back-to-back clutches from Kermie, and then, you know, the moment in regulation that got them there was Signal and that triple kill in CT. They wouldn't have been anywhere close if it wouldn't have been for him. And then he pops off for a quad on the final round. F5, they are proving that they have the capability to stand up and stand tall in this type of, you know, ECL caliber of team. Regain is, and booking their ticket to a grand final. The question of who, we don't know, but we know that it is not Lag, and the fact that it will be seeing In Control and Regain in the lower bracket, a very spicy prospect. Wow. I'm loving what this cup is delivering.
I couldn't agree with you more. You know, where we set up this grand final. It's very funny because F5 have beat both these teams, so it's nice to, you know, get that very good sentiment for you going into your grand finals. No LAG. I think that would have been your big bad. I think for me, I mean, I got to watch how clean it was against In Control. I think they would prefer that In Control matchup, being that was a little easier handled up in the semifinals, as you see top of your bracket there. I think we'll see a repeat of this upper bracket final in our grand final. I think you'll see Regain take that against In Control, in my opinion, Vincent. Boy, though, I mean, we're sitting with a big bruise on this tournament, seeing LAG out in 4th place, where I know earlier in the broadcast you were saying, you know, these are the sentiments that we stand for. It's more than the VRS, it's more than the prize pool. But for these players, I mean, they've never even reached this point close in their career. Literally, the other day, I was on this broadcast calling Kermie and Nate hard-stuck advanced players, and that wasn't anything but close to the truth about a month or 2 ago. These players have been working so hard to rewrite their own stories that it's Nate and Kermie's ink that is left on the page here in this upper bracket. Beautiful stuff. Like we were saying, I mean, Kermie's been around in this community with Nate for so long. Kermie, a guy that I remember still like flopping onto land. He was there with the vlog camera, Vincent. That's what he was known for, making awesome YouTube videos, bringing good vibes. Same with Kermie, right? Or excuse me, Nate, who is known as the guy with a smile that would make you drop dead. But where they bring it through here, they have a different reputation as such a deadly team here in ECL, Vincent. 3 weeks ago, going into Frag York, I thought they were nobodies.
Well, there's somebodies right now, somebodies who just booked their ticket to a grand final. A beautiful way to shut things down here as F5 winning against Regain in another upset fashion. I can't wait to see how this thing concludes. Speaking of that conclusion, we will be continuing this ECL Cup 3 moving on, but that's going to be coming up tomorrow, so make sure that you staying tuned for that. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. It's been a pleasure to take you through all the action. We'll be seeing you next time. Peace out. Have a good night.
Shot great. Gotta get here. Hit that he has on his back with Bones. Stacking bodies, dropping them, and Grape is the top of the pie.
Everybody's getting a piece right now for F5, and that's something that is, I think, a big deal for their overall chances.
It's still here on this rifle. Pour through these barrels. There's a man on top of your head. Oh my god. Cameron just killed Grape. That is insane. Saved his teammate in ridiculous dramatic circumstances. Had shattered. Made a really uncomfortable moment. Worse than Grape. Unbelievable. A nice two-piece, but I mean, the sentiment in the pit is going to be worse. A team kill at the top of Cameron is going to help out.
Information. He is not here on the B site proper. Swings out. Oh, he's caught one.
Knows where he has gone. Sasha back to new box. Molotov just for this moment. Saved it in the pocket. Where's the pop? Flash to go. Kermie, he's over. Fish forward. Flash up top. Kermie is going to keep it simple. But great. He's been here 100 times, but this will be the one he fumbles. Kermie, the king of the clutch, 2 times in a row. Signal off of his timing! Oh! And what a slaughter! Engineered by Signal, every member of F5 in a 1 versus 4 to Dirk. His to go ahead and get out of the house. Regain, I think are going to be straight to the lower bracket. And who else but the sentiment of Kermie set up with his